This is a comprehensive grammar quiz, and if you enjoy practicing and improving your grammar skills, then please subscribe, turn on notifications, because I would like to become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about trying to help you improve your skills and reach your fluency goals. So what I've done is I've taken some of my favorite grammar quizzes and I've put them together in this nice, long, comprehensive quiz. And I think it's only appropriate that we begin with prepositions because they can be a bit confusing. So I think that's a good place to start. I'm going to give you the sentence, and I just want you to tell me which preposition best completes the sentence, okay? So the first one that I have for you is this right here, all right? The first one is, they were convicted, a crime they didn't commit. What do you think? Convicted on, convicted by, convicted with, convicted of. Which one do you think? It is convicted of. Here's the next question I have for you. He's accustomed, driving in snowy weather. Which preposition best completes that sentence? He's accustomed, driving in snowy weather. And the answer, yes, is to. He's accustomed to driving in snowy weather. The team is devoted, winning the championship. All right? What do you think? The team is devoted, winning the championship. Is it devoted to, devoted at, devoted in, or devoted on? Which one do you think? Which one of these sounds right to you when you're talking about these prepositions? So I hope that you said the answer again is to. The team is devoted to winning the championship. Many believe the iPhone is superior, all others. Superior. Superior at, superior with, superior to, or superior of. I don't really have a strong opinion. This was just the only example I could think of, but the answer is to. Many believe the iPhone is superior to all others. The next one that I have for you, another multiple choice question. Parents want to keep their children safe, danger. And some of you, again, maybe you know these without even looking at some of the choices that I gave you. Would you say safe to, safe from, safe around, or safe over? We're talking about keeping somebody safe. I think this is very true. I definitely want to keep our little girl safe, and I would want to keep her safe from danger. Parents want to keep their children safe from something else, something dangerous. I could say, I really hope you are engaged these lessons, okay? If someone is engaged, that is a way to describe a person, that is an adjective, and you would often follow it with a certain preposition. So what do you think? I hope you're really engaged these lessons. The answer is in. I really hope you are engaged in these lessons. So if you are engaged in something, it just means that you are paying attention, you want to learn, and you are engaged in a certain activity, and you're very engaged. That's a good thing. The next one is, I'm grateful, your offer. What do you think? If two people, they come to an agreement, somebody might say this, I'm grateful, your offer. Which preposition best completes that? And you would say that they are grateful for. I'm grateful for your offer. And if you are grateful for something, it's the same as saying that you are thankful for this thing. And again, that is another adjective that you'd follow with that same preposition. Grateful for, thankful for. The next one that I have for you is, their marriage is devoid, laughter. So this one, this adjective may be a little trickier, a little more advanced. Devoid, something. Devoid of. Their marriage is devoid of laughter. And if we're talking about if you are devoid of something, it means that they lack something, that it doesn't exist. There is none. There is no laughter in their marriage. It is devoid of laughter, devoid of something. The next one, I could say, are you concerned, your health? And I tried to make this question relevant to, I have the picture of these donuts back there. Donuts that, they're not very healthy. It's not the healthiest of foods. So somebody could ask, like, hey, are you concerned, your health? Concerned about. So if you are concerned about something, then it just means you're worried about it. So again, even in that case, you're concerned about, you're worried about, they mean the same thing, and we use that preposition about, concerned about something. The next one, she is very well acquainted, the facts of the case. So there in the background, you kind of have this picture of a woman, and the idea would be perhaps she's a lawyer. And we're talking about a case, she's trying a case, and you could say, well, she is very well acquainted, the facts of the case. The answer is with. She is very well acquainted with the facts of the case. If you are acquainted with it, it means that you know about it, that you are familiar with this thing. Now I'm going to try and make it a little more challenging, because this time I am going to give you a sentence, and there are two. There are two missing prepositions. All right, so the first one I could say that is this. If you're addicted, our channel, then that means you're pleased, our lessons. Okay, so which prepositions follow those two adjectives? So we're talking about addicted, something, or you're pleased, something. So the correct answer is to and with. If you are addicted to our channel, then that means you are pleased with our lessons. If you are addicted to something, it means that you must have it. If you're addicted to our channel, then that means you're pleased with something. You are happy with it, pleased with. I just like this picture. That's why I chose it. The dog is notorious, destroying my shoes, and I'm fed up, it. All right? Those are the two adjectives, notorious, and fed up. So the notorious and fed up, those are the two adjectives in the sentences. Which prepositions are going to follow those? The dog is notorious for destroying my shoes, and I'm fed up with it. He's notorious for destroying my shoes. If you are notorious for something, all right? If you're notorious for something, it means that you are known for this thing. And if you are fed up with something, you are tired of it. You are not going to take it anymore, and you say, I'm fed up with this. Let's look at the next one. The store was crowded, people who were eligible, the grand prize. So those are the two adjectives. You're talking about crowded, many people, and the other one, eligible. Eligible, something. The store was crowded with people who were eligible for the grand prize. So if you say a place is crowded with something, it means there are many things. And if you are eligible for something, it means that you have met the requirements to get something. The next one that I have for you is, and this is how I feel. So this is why I chose this sentence. I don't know if you can see the picture. It's a picture of an airplane, and there are seats on the airplane, and I would say, I'm incapable getting comfortable this seat. You would say that I'm incapable of getting comfortable in this seat. So if you're talking about you are capable of doing something, that you can do it. If we want to say the opposite, you would say incapable of doing something. Since we're talking about a seat and somebody would sit in a seat, you would say comfortable in this seat because we're sitting. The next one, if you're keen, this is what I would tell you guys, or I try to tell you guys all the time. If you're keen, improving your English, join our community and you'll be amazed, all the cool stuff we'll send you. You are keen, doing something, and you are amazed, something. If you are keen on doing something, it means that you want to do it, you desire to do it. If you're keen on improving your English, if you want to do it, then I would say join our community and you'll be amazed by all the cool stuff we'll send you. It's amazed by. You are amazed by something. I'm sure that you rock that part of the quiz. You can let me know down in the comments. But right now, I want to switch gears to something that's very important. And what I'm talking about are verb tenses. And I say this is very important because this is going to tell us the time when something happens. So let's begin, and good luck. Let's just look at our very first question. And again, this is all about verb tenses. I'm going to give you a sentence with a blank. I want you to write the correct verb tense. I'll tell you the verb as well, and I'll give you a little bit of a hint. So here's the first one. It's going to get more difficult as we go along. So here is our first sentence. All right. And I want you to complete that sentence. And maybe this is a little tricky. So I've given you a hint that this is, there is a modal in this sentence. The main verb is no. All right. So how would you complete this sentence? He ought, better. What do you think? The answer is to know. So I told you that it's a little tricky because you're not only writing the verb, you need to put the preposition to in there. So ought is your modal verb. Many people really consider ought to as the modal. And then when you have like a modal verb, you're going to follow that with the base verb know. So he ought to know better. The next one right here. This is going to be, again, maybe it's a little tricky. So the plain, your main verb is arrive at 8 p.m. Your clue is scheduled time. You might be thinking, scheduled time. Wait, what does that have to do with anything? I will explain when I give you the answer. The reason I said I thought it would be tricky is because I thought many people might say will arrive, which you could say, but scheduled time, it's more common that people are going to use the present simple, even if you're talking about something in the future. So if we have to go to the airport, I would tell you like, oh, we need to leave now. We need to drive to the airport because the plane arrives at 8 p.m. How about this one? Again, your clue, unspecified time. All right. The main verb is the verb to be. So how would you complete this sentence? I to China twice. In this case, unspecified time, we're talking about the present perfect tense. I have been to China twice. I didn't tell you the time, so in that case, it's common. People are going to use the present perfect tense. I have been to China twice. Here we go. And this is true, actually. This is a true sentence for me and my family. I'd say last year at this time, we a trip to Romania. Your clue is I'm talking about an action at a point in time. So hopefully these clues that I'm giving you will help remind you of the verb tense that you should be using, because when you're learning verb tenses, this is the way people would teach them. This is how I would talk about them, and I would tell people, oh, think about it's an action at a point in time. You're going to use this verb tense. We're talking about the past continuous. Last year at this time, we were planning a trip to Romania. I said it's an action. So if you think about an action, it's like something that's happening at a point in time, which means it's going to continue. Because if you're talking about an action, typically it's something that will continue along. And in this case, it's the past continuous. Let's look at the next one. Okay. The main verb is get. I the door. In this case, I want you to think about the situation. And you're saying this sentence like it's a quick and sudden decision. And if you're talking about a sudden decision, I'll get. So you're going to use will with quick and sudden decisions, something that would happen immediately. And I think most of the time in conversation, people are going to use the contracted form. I will, I'll get the door. I'll answer it. The next one, right here. So this, I'm telling you, there's an adverb clause in this sentence. And the adverb clause is before my alarm went off. The hint is really, like, think about that adverb clause, and that's going to help you determine the verb tense, that main verb, which is here. So before my alarm went off, I a loud boom. The answer that I have for you, just think about it, is just heard. Before my alarm went off, I heard a loud boom. In this case, you're saying before my alarm went off. All right, that has not happened yet. You're just talking about, in general, something that happened before this other thing that had not happened. Before my alarm went off, I heard a loud boom. Let's look at the next one. The main verb is learn. All right, we're talking about a continuing action. I English for 4 years, and I will continue to do so in the future. Another key word there is for, F-O-R, the preposition, not the number. So I English for 4 years, and I will continue to do so in the future. We're talking about the present perfect continuous. I have been learning English for 4 years, and I will continue to do so in the future. Let me tell you why it's the present perfect continuous. So that first part, that first independent clause, I've been learning English for 4 years. Something that started in the past, it's continued to the present. So that really tells you you're going to use the perfect tense. But in this case, it's better to use the present perfect continuous, because the next part is saying that you will continue learning English in the future. So that is one difference between the present perfect and present perfect continuous. I think of an action that will continue in the future. You're going to use the present perfect continuous. I have been learning. So here's the situation. There's 2 sentences. Your key is that there's like just some evidence. So think of the situation. There's only 1 minute left in the match. Our team win. So win is the verb that I want you to use. How are you going to use that? What verb tense in order to complete that sentence so that that the situation makes sense? In this case, remember how I told you before that sudden, quick actions, like something that happens immediately, you're going to use will. In this case, you're going to use going to. When there's evidence, or even there's a sign that something will come in the future, you're going to use going to. There's only 1 minute left in the match. Our team is going to win. This is great. Let's look at the next question, or the next sentence that I have for you. This is an example of the subjunctive, technically the subjunctive mood. So here's my sentence. The doctor recommends that she some sleep. Recommends is that is the main verb. That she some sleep, that is a clause, but a clause, it still has a verb in it. You would say she get. The doctor recommends that she get some rest. Did I say sleep in that first sentence? No, rest. Sorry. Maybe I misspoke when I was talking about it. The doctor recommends that she get some rest. Now, I will say that, again, I'm writing this down. So in writing, I think it's very common people would use the subjunctive mood. Now, if we're talking about spoken English, I think that people will say gets. And this is sometimes when the way people speak does not always match the way somebody would write something that is grammatically accepted or correct. Here's another one. Are you guys ready? What do you think? 2 past events. All right. And now I'm giving you 2 blanks. So think about the situation. By the time I at the restaurant, that is actually an adverb clause. The main clause, everyone, and I want you to use already order. So how would you complete that sentence. There's two different blanks in this one. By the time I at the restaurant, everyone So the first part, by the time I at the restaurant, that is my adverb clause. And with the adverb clause, you're going to use the simple past. The next part, it's appropriate, especially because you see the word already. That should tell you, okay, the perfect tense. And because we're talking about the past, then you would use the past perfect. So it's almost like you're talking about these two events that happened in the past. By the time I arrived at the restaurant, everyone had already eaten. So this is a good example as to when you would use the past perfect tense. Okay, now we're going to talk about some extremely common words in English. And this can be difficult because in some languages, these words don't exist. And I'm talking about articles. A, an, the, or no article. So after I tell you the answer, I will explain why you would use this article. Here we go. I'm talking about the articles a, an, the, and no article as well. Often, I think in grammar books, you may see people use this symbol, this theta symbol, when they want to represent that no article is used. So I'm going to give you a bunch of different sentences, and I just want you to complete the sentence with the correct article. Let's begin with this question right here and that blank spot. And I'd say, that's great. This is something I might tell you. I'd say, that's great. You want to learn English. So what are you going to use in that blank? Which article are you going to use? A, an, the, or no article? The answer is no article. So when you're talking about languages, we do not use articles before languages. If you're talking about English, French, German, Russian, Japanese, you are not going to use an article. The next question is, and I want you to put yourself in this situation. Pretend that you are at a restaurant and you are asking this question and you say, excuse me, can you tell me where toilet is? Which article would you use to complete that sentence? The answer is the. Excuse me, can you tell me where the toilet is? And in this situation specifically, I'm talking about a restaurant. You use the when you assume there is only one of something. So if you're at a restaurant, you assume there's probably just one toilet for men, there's one toilet for women. And you would ask the question and use the. The next one is this woman right here. I would say, just talking about her job, she works as university professor. All right, she works as university professor. I told you to think about the noun, but you're also, in this case, you need to consider that adjective, the word university, because it's describing which type of professor. And the reason why that you need to consider that adjective is because of the sound that comes after the article. So what do I mean by that? The correct answer is A. She is a university professor, or you could say she is a university professor. Either pronunciation is correct. I tend to use a and just say that schwa sound. She's a university professor. And we use a before non-specific nouns. It's professor, it could be any professor, that begin with a consonant sound. I told you have to think about university because that is the next sound that you hear. When you think about the rule with a and an, many people think, oh, look at the letter. Is it a consonant letter or a vowel? And that's going to tell you the answer. It really depends on the sound. If it's a consonant sound that follows the article, you're going to use a. U is a vowel, the letter. It's a consonant sound, that university. All right, the next one. This is true. This is something that I think I've said before. And I would say, one day I hope to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay? So what are you going to use to complete that sentence? A, an, the, or no article. We're talking about a mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro. It is a proper noun. if we're talking about mountains, we are not going to use an article before the names of mountains. So when you are giving the name and using the proper noun, Mount Kilimanjaro or Mount Everest, you are not going to use an article before that name. This is one of those rules that, again, you don't need to memorize the rule, but just the more you see sentences like this and you say to yourself, okay, one day I hope to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. The next time you are talking about a mountain and you say the name, you're just going to naturally, you're not going to use an article. Let's look at the next one, which is this. This is a little trivia question for you too, all right? What is most northern capital city in the world? And I'm going to give you the real answer to this. So what is most northern capital city in the world? The key word in there, I think, is most. The answer is the. The key word is most because when you're talking about superlatives, you're going to use the article the. The most beautiful, the most incredible, or even if you're talking about like those shorter superlatives, the fastest, the smelliest, the dirtiest. And the answer, this is true, the most northern capital city in the world is Reykjavik, Iceland. The next question that I have for you is this one right here. And this is where I used to live. Would you like to visit Golden Gate Bridge? Okay, so I'm talking about another name. It is a proper noun. Would you like to visit Golden Gate Bridge? So again, when you're thinking about those rules, I'm talking about the name of a bridge. What do you think you're going to use? The correct answer is the. When you're talking about the names of bridges, you're going to use the article the Golden Gate Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge. So these are rules that the more you practice, the more you read, the more you listen, you're just going to start to remember this information. So this one, now I'm going to throw a few at you with two options in there. Largest lake in North America is Lake Superior. Which article, a and the, or no article? Again, that first one we've talked about. The answer is the and no article. So we talked about that first one when we're saying superlatives. The largest lake in North America is Lake Superior. You will not use an article before the names of lakes. Let's look at the next one right here. Again, there's two different ones that I want you to complete. And this is something like you're telling a story. Think of this as like storytelling. And in this case, this is not an exciting story. It's kind of just starting out. I say, here is a man standing next to plant. There is a ladybug on plant. It's kind of a boring story, but I'll tell you why this is useful in just a moment. So what two articles would you use to complete this story, these sentences, so that it's correct? The way you would say is, here is a man standing next to a plant. There is a ladybug on the plant. If you're talking about a story, and that's why I wanted to reference this in relation to storytelling, because you have the rule of first mention. You use a or a the first time that something is mentioned. So when you're talking about a story and you mention something for the first time, you're going to use a or a. The next time that you mention it, the second mention, you're going to use the. And the reason for that is because the first time you say something, it could be just non-specific. You could be talking about any plant. The second time you mention that same thing, it then becomes specific. He's learning how to play tennis, okay? So the noun, I told you guys to think about the noun that follows. So we're talking about tennis. It's a sport. He's learning how to play tennis. When we're talking about the names of sports or games, even if we're talking about games, you're not going to use an article. He's learning how to play tennis, or I play soccer, or I love to play Monopoly, the name of a game. There's no article before that. Then we have, this is an expression. What do you think? Apple a day keeps doctor away. So if you've heard this expression, you probably know which articles go in there, or maybe no article. So we're talking about apple. It is, it starts with a vowel sound. So you're going to use an. The expression goes, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. All right, so and before non-specific count nouns that start with a vowel sound, the before specific nouns. The reason why I say specific is because when you're saying this expression, I think typically, well, people have a specific doctor, and that's what they're referring to when they say the expression. Because if you say a doctor, again, you'd be talking about any doctor. But people in general, they may have a doctor that they will regularly go see. So I think that's why in this case, doctor would be specific. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. I guess it's true. Apples are good for us. The next one, Manny Pacquiao. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Maybe not. If you're from the Philippines, you can correct me. Manny Pacquiao, who is famous boxer, is not from Malaysia. He's from Philippines. Fill in the blank with either a, an, the, or no article. But Manny Pacquiao, who is a famous boxer, all right, just in general, like I said at the very beginning, we talked about someone who is a professor, who is a famous boxer, is not from Malaysia. No article when we talk about the names of countries. And this is a rule that applies to most countries. Countries with plural names, you're going to use the. And I think Philippines is probably one of the more famous, well-known countries with a plural name. I think there are 2 or 3 more. Maybe you guys can think of some. But for most countries, you're going to use no article, but you use the before countries with plural names. Or if you're talking about countries where it like names the type of state it is, or it's like a collective, a group. For example, the United States or the United Kingdom or the Republic of China, then you will also use the as well as before plural names. And this one, if you enjoyed the lesson, please hit like button. How would you complete this sentence? Talking about something, it's specific, there's only one, so the answer is yes, the. If you enjoyed this lesson, please hit the like button. How are you doing so far? All right, I'm going to try to make it a little more difficult because, well, the next thing that we're going to talk about, I think this may be the most difficult part of the quiz. And we're going to talk about conditional sentences, and we're going to go over all of them. So without further ado, let's practice using conditionals. It's a bit of a conditional quiz. I'm not going to go deep into the grammar of these different conditionals. We're just going to practice writing sentences and practice our skills. Just some basics. Okay, so what are conditional statements? This is when you have a condition and a result. So the condition is going to be that if statement. The result is just your main clause. So you can see this sentence right down here. If you don't pay attention, that is the condition. If you don't pay attention, you won't understand conditionals. The next part is just let's look at the types of conditionals, okay? So I've listed 5 different kinds of conditionals, and I've given you an example sentence. So the zero conditional. If you touch fire, you get burned. This is just like a general truth. The first conditional, we're talking about a result that happens in the future. If I go to the party, I'll call you. The second conditional, those are your hypothetical situations, okay? Those are kind of imaginary. If I could fly, I would travel the world, all right? Can I fly? No, it's imaginary. The third conditional, okay, is unreal. And the reason I say it's unreal is because we're talking about a condition that happened in the past. It's already happened. We cannot change the past. So that's why I say, well, it's unreal. You can't change the past. If I had gone, I would have told you. So maybe you're talking about that party that you were supposed to go to. Well, if I had gone to the party, I would have told you. And then the final one, the mixed conditional. This one can be really challenging because oftentimes you're taking a condition that it happened in the past, and then you're talking about a present result, as in this example sentence right here. If I'd eaten, all right, I wouldn't be hungry now. If I had eaten earlier in the day, I didn't eat, but if I had eaten, then I would not be hungry right now. So we're going to start a little easier, and then it's just going to get a little more difficult. The first part is what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the condition or the result, and I just want you to complete the sentence. Let's just do the first one. So for example, let's look at the zero conditional. Okay, this is the one. I want you to write a sentence in the zero conditional. If you commit a crime, what? What's the result? So I've given you the condition, the if statement. If you commit a crime, okay, tell me the result. Remember to keep it in the zero conditional. This is talking about a general truth. Keeping it in the zero conditional, you go to jail. So a general truth, okay? If you commit a crime, present simple, you go to jail, present simple. Let's look at the first conditional. Okay, so I've tried to make this a little more challenging, okay? Those are the pictures, all right? You see study, test, all right? I'll fail. You're talking about a condition and a result. They're not always in that order. Sometimes the result can come before the condition. The meaning is the same. So I've given you the result. I want you to complete the sentence. Tell me what the condition is and use those pictures. I'll fail. What's the condition? If I don't study for the test. The result is going to have the future tense. I'll fail. The condition, present simple. I'll fail if I don't study for the test. And usually, yes, that's a true statement. Let's look at the next one. Okay, the second conditional, hypothetical situation. Okay, maybe you're just thinking something to yourself. If I had $5, okay? If I had $5, what? The condition is in the past simple. If I had $5, I would say, I would buy you a coffee. The result, would plus the base verb. I would buy you a coffee. I would go, I would sing, I would dance. So again, this is the second conditional. Now let's look at the third conditional. Are you ready? In this case, again, I'm giving you the result first, all right? I'm giving you the result. We would have hit the like button. And again, you might say something a little different. It's fine. You can have different answers. I just want to make sure you guys have an idea as to how you should use these conditionals, and that make sure, the grammar isn't confusing you too much, all right? So again, you're talking about something that happened in the past, all right? We can't change the past. I would say, again, we would have hit the like button if you had asked us. I didn't ask you in the past. It's already happened. So then, again, think about the grammar. The condition, if you had asked, is the past perfect, had asked. And then the result, we have would plus have plus the past participle, would have hit, okay? So if you haven't hit the like button, I am asking you now, please go ahead. Hit that like button if you like practicing your English skills and practicing using conditionals, okay? Now let's do a mixed one. And I just realized, all right, this is very similar to that example. Okay, I don't want to tell you. We've already kind of talked about this. So this is a mixed conditional. If I had eaten breakfast, that is the condition. I want you to give me a result from the present. All right, so think about this situation. Think about your real life. You didn't eat breakfast. How would you feel? If I had eaten breakfast, again, I wouldn't be so hungry right now. I'm talking about I said right now just to emphasize that I'm talking about the present, okay? This is an example of a mixed conditional, and a common one that people might say, well, if I had eaten earlier, I wouldn't be so hungry. That is a common example. Okay, so what I want to do now, all right, we're going to switch it up a little. Now I have a few more questions for you, and this is just going to be a gap fill. It's multiple choice. So let's look at the first question. If it was going to rain, I would have brought my umbrella. Okay, what do you think best completes that that conditional statement. If it was going to rain, I would have brought my umbrella. So the correct answer is B, all right? We're talking about the third conditional. If I had known it was going to rain, I would have brought my umbrella. Third conditional, all right? Excellent. The next one. This one I think you can see clearly. I you to dinner if you help me move. What do you think? What best completes that sentence? I you to dinner if you help me move. What will happen in the future? We're talking about the first conditional, all right? So the correct answer, wait a second. The correct answer is C. Yes, I want to make sure that I got the right letter. I will take you to dinner if you help me move. Let's do another one. Here we go. If I you, I join our email list. What would you say? If I you, I join our email list. So the correct answer is B. I put, if I were you, I join our email list. It's the second conditional. When you're talking about the second conditional, it is grammatically appropriate to use the subjunctive, if I were you. Writing is more formal, so I think if you're writing something, I would stick with the subjunctive and use were. So just something, if you said a, then I would say, okay, you're not really wrong, I told you so. I would accept both of them. So just keep that in mind. This is the subjunctive. So now what I want to do is I'm going to give you a situation. This is kind of talking about transformations. I'm going to give you a situation. I want you to write a conditional sentence. So let's look at the first one right now. So again, I will read it in case you can't see it very well because of the colors and the picture. So it says, I didn't take the bus, so I didn't arrive on time. Okay? What is a conditional sentence that you could use that would mean the same thing, that would capture that same meaning? Taking one sentence and saying it in a different way, but having the same meanings. If I had taken the bus, past perfect, I would have arrived on time. So basically, like I put the sentence down there so you can reference it. I didn't take the bus, so I didn't arrive on time. If I had taken the bus, I would have arrived on time. So we can use the third conditional to have that same meaning. And it's a little more challenging because you have to think it through a bit more with that grammar. Let's do another one. So I don't live in New York City because I didn't get the job. I don't live in New York City because I didn't get the job. What conditional sentence could you write that has the same meaning? Remember how I said typically you'll find like a condition, your if statement, and then the result? You can put the result first and then the condition. That's a hint. So if we're going to put the result first, I would say the following, all right? I would live in New York City. You're talking about right now. I would live there right now if I had gotten the job. And I would say again, when you're talking about the past perfect, had gotten, had got, you can use either one. Either one of those is correct. One more, good practice right now. So I'm shy. I didn't go over and talk to her. Okay? I'm shy. I didn't go over and talk to her. What conditional would capture that? Okay? So again, think about the condition and the result. So in this one, I switched it around. All right? I know I said it's still best to use the subjunctive, but I wanted to give you this example because, again, somebody might say this and they might not use the subjunctive. And this is how it is in English. But I would say, again, even though I didn't do it here, if you're writing, I would recommend stick with the subjunctive. If I weren't so shy, I would have gone over and talked to her. But again, somebody might just be having a conversation. They say, wow, if I wasn't so shy, I would have gone over and talked to her. Okay, right now, I want to practice some useful words and phrases to help you be more descriptive. And they're going to help you be more descriptive when talking about time, manner, or place. Do you see where I'm going with this? So I want to quiz you on adverbs. And if you know this, it's going to help you dramatically improve your English skills. Let's begin.
We're going to start with some adverbs of frequency. And I think this is hopefully this is a little easier. You're familiar with many of these adverbs. And all I want you to do, and there's more than one, you see those percentages there. So we're talking about frequency. Which word would you use to talk about something that is 100% of the time? And then which word would you use for 75% of the time? And then 50% of the time, 25%, and then 0, saying that, okay, this, I don't want to give the adverb, the word away, but that is how frequent this is, 0%. The first one, 100%, we're talking about always, something that you always do. I always brush my teeth before I go to bed. But 75%, I think most of the time, people are going to use usually. Usually. You could also use the word often, and 50% of the time, sometimes, it sometimes rains in spring. 25% of the time, rarely. I think this one is commonly used. I would even say rarely. I think you could go less than 25%, and then I think 0% at the end. Never. If you say, I never do something, then you're really 0%. I think you will always use these words in conversation, talking about how frequently you do something. Now let's move into some other things that I think are kind of, similar, different ways you could say this. So here is an expression. If I say, we like to eat sushi, and it equals, it's the same as sometimes. So I'm talking about like 50%. What is an expression that I can use that means the same as sometimes? There's more than one answer, but what I was going for was this one. Every now and then. So every now and then means kind of the same as sometimes. I've also put another one down there. From time to time is another phrase, expression that you could use. There are many different adverbs of frequency. This next one is an idiom, and I've given you a hint down here. So, and this is kind of true, especially we live in Hungary. It's a landlocked country. We eat seafood. What would I complete that with? It's the same as rarely. Actually, I would even go like lower than that and say it's probably closer to like hardly ever. So I tried to give you a little bit of a hint to tell you what this idiom is. The answer is once in a blue moon. I put 2 moons down there with a calendar because that is a blue moon. A blue moon is when you have 2 full moons in the same month. They call that a blue moon, and it is something that happens rarely. It does not happen that often, which is where this came from, this expression that, you do something once in a blue moon, you do it rarely. You don't often do it. But now I want to switch to kind of another group, adverbs of degree. So the first question that I have for you, thinking about like a degree, like to the extent of something. This is a question that somebody would ask kind of like jokingly, trying to be humorous if it's like very hot outside and you're talking to somebody else and you know that person feels like, wow, it is hot. You know this person thinks it's very hot outside. You could ask this question jokingly, is it hot for you? The answer is enough. That is the adverb that I'm looking for. It's an adverb of degree. Is it hot enough for you? So that's a good phrase to know as well. This is more like vocabulary. So now I've given you the adverb. These are all adverbs talking about like a degree. And I want you to think of which word may follow. There are different words that might often follow these adverbs. And I just want you to think of some right now. This is a great way for, to build your vocabulary. Collocations are when you have 2 words that are frequently used together. So if you were to think of the adverb like fully, what's the next word that just comes to mind? Not really a quiz question, but really trying to get you to think of different words. So the ones that I chose, and again, there's no right or wrong answer. Fully aware. Yes, you are fully aware of something, that you know that something is happening. Deeply sorry about something. A situation like sorry or regret, deeply is one that you would use. You're deeply sorry about something, or you deeply regret something. And then utterly, I think this one, because utterly kind of means the same as extremely, there are many different words that you could use. Utterly insane is just the first one that came to my mind. But you could say something is utterly ridiculous, I think, is another common collocation. Now I want to look at some adverbs of manner. And the first question, I think I think you guys will know it. I think it's not too difficult, is this one. It's just to fill in the blank. I think you speak English very. Which adverb would you use to complete that sentence? There are many words that you could actually use depending on what somebody's trying to say. What I was going for is well. I think you speak English very well. Fluently, slowly, clearly. I told you there are many adverbs of manner that you could use to complete this. I want you to do a sentence transformation. So sentence transformation is when you're saying the same thing, but you're just using another sentence. So right here, I give you the original sentence. I want you to be careful when you take the test. What I want you to do, change one of those words to an adverb of manner and just rewrite the sentence. What would you say? You're transforming the sentence. You're saying the same thing, but you're just saying it in a different way. You would say, I want you to take the test carefully. We're saying it's the same thing. It has the same meaning. If we're talking about those adverbs of manner, it's often those ly adverbs. Not all of them end in an ly, but many of them do. Now, I want to kind of combine degree and manner with this. This is a question. And the reason why I'm giving you this question, it's kind of a play on words. As a teacher, I would say this to students sometimes, kind of just joking around, being funny. I told you it's a play on words. Are you working or working? Hard and hardly. So are you working hard or hardly working? And it's a play on words because we're using that adverb. You have hard as an adverb and then hardly as an adverb. And the reason why it's funny, it's a play on words because working hard and hardly working are opposites. If somebody is working hard, in that case, we're talking about that adverb of degree, like you're working with a lot of intensity. Hardly, as an adverb of manner, means kind of like, well, slightly, very little. So that's why I said it's kind of a play on words. Working hard, hardly working, they're opposites. And this is a good example of that, using these adverbs. Are you working hard or hardly working? So we talked about adverbs of frequency, some manner, some degree. These are all some adverbs of time, which again, I think many of these are very, very common adverbs. And this is one that I don't think it's too difficult. The reason why I'm putting this up there, maybe it's challenging because I do often hear people make mistakes when it comes to using this adverb of time. The package arrived and then what? How would you complete that sentence? And I've given you the calendar down there to kind of really put it in context. I know that calendar, it does not have 7 days. That's okay. Just pretend like it's a 4-day week. So you see that the blue, that's when the package, that's today. And then you can count backwards the days when the package arrived. The answer I was looking for, you could say yes, earlier, not yesterday. Again, because count backwards, all right? It's not yesterday, not 2 days ago, but 3 days ago. Sometimes I hear learners make mistakes and they'll say things like 2 days before or 3 days before or like 5 days before instead of using like 5 days ago or 1 week ago or 3 years ago.
Something we have not talked about so far are questions. And I want to test your knowledge when it comes to tag questions. And I think this is more relevant when it comes to spoken English because we use these in just casual conversation. So it's helpful to know how to use them correctly.
Do you have an episode about tag questions? And I had to respond and say no, but that's a great idea. So today we're going to talk about tag questions or question tags. So the first thing you might be thinking is, well, tag questions, question tags, what's the difference? And the answer to that is absolutely nothing. So you have two types of statements. You have a positive statement and negative statements. Positive statements are followed by a negative tag. He finished the report, didn't he? Now, a negative statements are followed by a positive tag. He didn't finish the report. Did he? Did he is the positive tag. After let's, the tag begins with shall. Let's eat, shall we? So this is a fundamental rule that you can follow. The other one is right here. Use aren't I in tags to mean I am not. I'm the favorite to win, aren't I? Use won't for polite request. So somebody would say, you'll help, won't you? We're going to use will or would with imperative sentences. And remember, imperative sentences, those are commands. Write to us in the comments, would you? Or write to us in the comments, will you? Use didn't in a question tag when the verb is used to. All right? You used to watch our lessons, didn't you? There are two endings possible when have is the main verb. One of them's more common in American English, that first example, if somebody says, oh, she has friends, doesn't she? But in British English, many people might say, she has friends, hasn't she? This is good because if you're going to use it in the question tag that includes this or that. So when you're using this or that in your statement, this is it, isn't it? And again, same down here. If we're talking about these or those, these are your shoes, aren't they? We are going to do a practice. And what we are going to do for this practice is I'm going to give you the statement, and all you have to do is write the tag. Are you ready? Are you sure? All right, I'll give you 1 second to prepare. 1. All right, here we go. So the first question is this. All right, he's always studying. So I want you guys, what is the tag that we're going to use to make this a question? He's always studying. He's always studying, isn't he? Okay, remember, positive statement, negative tag. Next one, let's try this one. Okay, give me a hand. How are you going to, this is a common question that you would ask somebody. Give me a hand. If it's an imperative sentence, you're going to use will or would. So oftentimes, even if you're watching TV or a movie, you might hear somebody, hey, give me a hand, will you? Or give me a hand, would you? Next one. Here we go. What do you guys think? I told you what happened. I told you what happened. How would you complete that question? And this is just think of it as a conversation. This is people are talking and somebody's like, wait a second, I told you what happened, didn't I? I told you what happened, didn't I? Let's do another one, all right? This isn't the last question. So we talked about this. Think about that statement. We talked about it when I went through those tips and tricks. This isn't the last question. Is it? All right, if we're using this, then remember you're going to use it. This isn't the last question, is it? No, it is not the last question. Here is another one. And there it is, yes, Ioana and I from several years ago. They used to live in San Francisco. How would you complete that question? The picture brings back some memories. San Francisco. If we're talking about used to, What do we use in the tag? They used to live in San Francisco, didn't they? All right, and the answer is yes. Yes, we did. We used to live in San Francisco.
How did you do on the quiz? You can let me know down in the comments. Was it easy? Was it difficult? I just love hearing from you. And if you enjoy practicing and improving your grammar skills, please hit that like button. That is all I have for you today. I know it was a long quiz, but as always, I just hope that you learned something new. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.